Hi everyone, and welcome to a book review for Frenchman's Creek by Daphne Du Maurier. So this one we're following, Donna is her name. She leaves London, goes to Navron. She goes there with her children. She leaves her husband there. But he does make an appearance later on. There's this creek by her. It's like it's a mansion, and there's this French pirate going around stealing stuff. She meets said pirate and goes on an adventure with him. I do wish there was more of the journey and the time with them, but it is a shorter read. It's like 253 pages, so you don't get much in it, but kind of more of Donna realizing more about herself and things like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the facts, because that's what these review videos are going to be for from this point on. So I've been keeping notes. Now keep in mind, I could have missed some words. For example, like bastard could be in here. Well, it is in here, and it's in here at least one time, but I could have missed it another time or two, so it could be in a little bit more, but these are just the basic bare minimum of that. So, okay, The Frenchman's Creek was written by Daphne Du Maurier. It was originally published in 1941 by Victor Gollancz, Ltd. Not sure how to pronounce that, but this particular edition that I have was originally published in 2003 by Virgo Press. So, now I did listen to the audiobook on this while I read along. I listened on Audible. The narrator was John Castle, and this book was 8 hours and 47 minutes. As far as some things to be aware of, in this book, you have women who wish they were born male because the men were treated better. They had more rights, more privileges than the women did. Okay, so you had a woman wishing to be born a boy. You have mentioned that someone becomes abusive when they're drunk. It doesn't say if it's physical, emotional, or what it is, and it only comes up the one time. Cockfighting is mentioned. Now here's the thing I will say. Hang on, I've got to mark what all I've told you about so far. Let's see, those are done. Okay, so cockfighting is mentioned. Now I don't know if it's like guys comparing the size of their wiener type fighting, like masculine type-esque, or if it's literal roosters. That little bit went over my head a little bit, so I'm not quite sure. I'm guessing it would be like rooster fighting, so cockfighting, because the cock and the roosters is the male, like head rooster or something like that. That's my understanding of like not being taught or learned that. That's what I've heard in passing at some other places. So cockfighting. You have, so the pirates are French. So you do have French pirates. This does take place in Europe. Donna is originally from London and then goes to Navron, which I'm not sure how far out of London that is. So London and, again, the French pirates. So going back to when it says that a woman wishes that she was born a boy, another thing that they talk about is how kind of like silly and stupid girls can be because they're girls. So the girls are stupid creatures, but that's how women were thought of at that time. They could be very simple-minded and not understand things when in reality they did. They were, but that's just how it was treated. So stupid creatures is referred to for the women. Okay. You have animal situations like cruelty and death. So again, like if it's cockfighting, I don't know if it's like, again, it was just like maybe 2 sentences. I can't remember if it was that they were talking about setting up a cockfighting event, so where they were going to pit the roosters together, which in my mind that is very wrong. Same thing if it was like a dog fighting or thing. Yeah. So you have that. Now at one point There's this man that does fishing to catch his dinner, which he's going to have a fish. And so it does talk about him killing a fish. And at one point in the book, you have someone that actually kicks a dog. And that's literally it says. It just says he kicks the dog. So it doesn't go into detail or description. And each of those three events, the cockfighting, the killing the fish, and kicking the dog, are only mentioned one time each. So it's not too bad, and it's just kind of very glossed over, and it helps you get to know a little bit more of the character. So that does have a purpose, but it is in there. I found it interesting that gout was mentioned. I've never heard gout come up in a book before. This is the first time that gout has been mentioned coming up for one of the very minor side characters that only shows up like once or twice in the book, very briefly, mentions that he has gout. So I found that to be interesting. Gout is definitely not something that is pleasant. At this time, in order to punish someone by their sins, if their crime is punishable by death, the way that they punish or kill this person is by hanging. So that comes up quite a bit, is that they're going to hang the pirate. They're going to hang these people that are committing all these crimes. So hanging is the form of killing someone for their crimes in this, and it comes up a lot. So you will hear a lot about hanging. One of the other things is there's allusion to like how pirates will have their way with women and will terrorize the women. Rape is mentioned at least 2 times and molestation once, but it does not get in detail. Literally just those words like, these women could have been raped, or they rape women. And so just like that, it doesn't get graphic, it doesn't get explicit. Same thing with molest. Again, it's like this group of people like to molest women. That's the type of talking that you're talking about. So again, nothing too bothersome there in my opinion, but so it is in there. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Okay, so phrase that comes up too is the Almighty. That is mentioned at least twice, which is in reference to God, which is mentioned 5, 10, 15, 24 times. So you have the Almighty mentioned twice and God mentioned 14 times. The word bastard pops up once, and I'm not going to give you context, part of which is I can't remember the context, but I also don't want to spoil anything. I'm just trying to help you be aware of what's in here so that you know if there's anything that I'm going to mention here. If you want to go ahead and continue to pick this book up, or say, not for me. A couple other things to mention. You have, okay, so there is no explicit sex in this, and I would not even say there's a closed door sex scene. I think there's this one point that I questioned, is it alluding to the fact that they had sex? I don't know if these two people in this actually had sex, or if it just kind of hinted that it could have been a possibility, but maybe they didn't. So it's kind of alluded to at one point, but that's as far as it gets. You don't know 100% for sure. Now, maybe someone will pick up on some stuff more than I did, and so yeah, no, they actually did, or no, they didn't. In my mind, it was just alluded to and kind of hinted that it could have happened, but nothing graphic. I wouldn't even classify it as a closed door type of a thing, because it's just, again, it's just kind of hinted that it could have happened, and that's it. That's the extent of that. Okay, suicide is mentioned in this. It does come up one time, and it does get pretty graphic, and I will say it does involve a gun. That way you know kind of what you're looking at with that, and it does happen, I believe, at the beginning of the book, fairly early on. And so it does get pretty graphic with that, and can be very bothersome to a lot of people. And I think it did help kind of set the stage a little bit. So I can see definitely why it was in there. Okay. Okay, so I can see that this bothering a lot of people too is that the main character, Donna, there's a couple of times, there's at least 8 times where she or her physical appearance or how she, like her facial expressions, gets compared to being a gypsy. So it's like she has just gypsy-esque hair, a just gypsy-esque look about her, something like that. So she is compared to being a gypsy quite a bit when she is not a gypsy, but she is being compared to being a gypsy. That's the distinction there. A couple other things. It is alluded to, at least for a little bit of child abandonment. So do be aware of that going into it if that's bothersome. It does not go into any details or go into depth. It's just kind of hinted and alluded to. Another situation where something is just alluded to. So let's see. The word whore pops up, like calling a woman a whore, comes up twice. The other thing, I mentioned this in my weekly vlog that I'm actually in the process of filming. 2 words that pop up that had a different meaning when this book was written than what they mean now, and that is gay and queer. Queer in this book means odd, strange, something's just not quite right or off. That comes up at least 5 times. Gay comes up at least 4 times, and that's in reference to like having a gay time, being gay, as far as being happy. So back when this book was written, to be gay was to be happy, to be queer was to be odd, strange. And now we know it as something different today. So it does have a different meaning in this, and I can see that being jarring to some people. So definitely be aware of that. The word hell comes up at least 7 times. And when I referenced God, sometimes when God came up, it was like, oh, thanking God for something, thanking the Almighty for something. And sometimes it was done as being done in vain type of thing, like OMG, and which I'm not going to say it because I just don't like to say it, but something like that. So it was done, it kind of goes both ways. The other thing, the worst swear word in this book was damn, and there were a couple different variations. There was D-A-M-M-E, which I did look that up, and that is a variation of damn. It's an older variation is my understanding when I did research that. You have damned, damnable, and damnation. So, and the variation of the word damn comes up 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 43 times at least. So those are the basic facts of this book. And I will tell you my brief thought of this personally. I loved this book. I'm going to try, I think, give it a 4 stars, and I enjoyed this more than Rebecca. So yeah, that's my own thoughts on that. So I enjoyed this. I do recommend that. Again, those are the facts as far as the words that were used and certain terminology that might be, the definitions have changed. So definitely something to be aware of. And now you know if there is stuff in this book that is triggering to you. So, and that way you know if you can avoid it, or if it still sounds good, definitely pick it up. So I hope you guys are doing well. Let me know if you've read this or have read anything else like Rebecca by Daphne Du Maurier. There's also a book called Jamaica Inn. I have that one on my shelf ready to go whenever it is that I'm ready to pick that up. So I look forward to that. So I hope you guys are doing well. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book. And I'll talk to you later.